Mr. Callahan, I think this is wrong. The words hung in the glass-walled conference room like a fragile truth no one dared speak. Meredith stood at the edge of the massive boardroom table, yellow rubber gloves still dripping soapy water onto the marble floor. Her heart hammered against her ribs as 12 pairs of eyes turned toward her. Executives in tailored suits, lawyers with leather briefcases, and at the head of the table, Declan Callahan himself, pen frozen mid-signature over a document that would change everything. She shouldn't have spoken. She was just the cleaning lady, the invisible woman who emptied trash bins at midnight when the towers of corporate power slept. But the numbers on that contract, the one she'd glimpsed while wiping down the glass table, they were wrong. Terribly, catastrophically wrong. Declan's jaw tightened. "Excuse me?" Meredith's throat went dry. She'd worked at Callahan Industries for 2 years, arriving at 10 p.m. when the office is emptied, leaving before dawn when the city stirred awake. She cleaned 50 floors of steel and ambition, her hands raw from chemicals, her mind exhausted from studying business textbooks between shifts. At 25, she was chasing a degree she could barely afford, one night class at a time, dreaming of a life beyond mops and midnight solitude. "I'm sorry, I shouldn't have..." She turned to leave, her face burning with shame. "Wait." Declan's voice cut through her retreat. He stood slowly, his tall frame silhouetted against the city lights stretching endlessly beyond the windows. "What did you say?" She forced herself to meet his eyes, not cold as she had expected, but curious, tired, human. "The acquisition terms, Section 7, the valuation formula, it doesn't account for the subsidiary debts listed in Appendix C. If you sign this, you'll be absorbing liabilities that aren't disclosed in the primary agreement." Silence crashed through the room like a wave. The lawyers exchanged glances. Declan's CFO, Gerald, a silver-haired man who always left coffee rings on his desk, leaned forward. "How would you possibly know?" "I'm studying corporate finance at Metro Community," Meredith said quietly, her voice steadier now. I read everything I can. Annual reports, merger documents, anything left on these desks." She gestured helplessly at the papers scattered across the conference table. "I know I shouldn't. I know it's none of your business, but those numbers, they're wrong." Declan picked up the contract, his eyes scanning the pages with new intensity. Minutes passed. The room held its breath. Finally, he looked up at his legal team, his expression dark. "Check Appendix C against Section 7, now!" An hour later, the conference room had emptied, except for Declan and Meredith. The lawyers had left in a flurry of panic and humiliation. The deal had been halted. What should have been a $200 million acquisition would have cost Declan's company $700 million once the hidden debt surfaced. A trap, carefully disguised by the selling company's legal team, nearly sprung. "You just saved me from the biggest mistake of my career," Declan said quietly, sitting on the edge of the conference table. Up close, she noticed the shadows under his eyes, the silver threading through his dark hair at 33. "Why didn't you just keep walking?" Meredith twisted the rubber gloves in her hands. Because someone told me that silence makes you complicit. Even when speaking up costs you everything." "Who told you that?" "My father. He was a factory foreman, spoke up about safety violations. They fired him. We lost everything, our house, our savings. He died 3 years ago, still believing he'd done the right thing." She looked down. "I thought maybe if I stayed quiet, worked hard, kept invisible, I could build something different. But tonight, I saw those numbers, and I heard his voice. Do what's right, Mary, even when it's hard." Declan was quiet for a long moment. "What's your full name?" "Meredith Brennan." "Meredith Brennan," he repeated, as if committing it to memory. "You study business at night and clean floors to pay for it?" She nodded. "It's honest work, and it teaches me things classrooms don't. How companies really run, how people really treat each other when they think no one's watching." "And what have you learned?" She met his gaze. That success doesn't always equal character. that the higher some people climb, the less they see the ground they're standing on. Something flickered in Declan's expression, recognition perhaps, or shame. "My father built this company from nothing," he said slowly, "worked himself into an early grave to give me opportunities he never had. I inherited it at 28 when he died. 5 years I've been running it, and I've never felt further from what he stood for." He gestured at the opulent room around them. "Somewhere along the way I stopped seeing people. Just numbers, quarterly reports, stock prices." "It's not too late to remember," Meredith said softly. "Isn't it?" His voice carried years of exhaustion. "I have 3,000 employees, shareholders demanding growth, competitors circling like sharks. One mistake and everything my father built crumbles." "Then don't make mistakes," she said simply. "And when you do, surround yourself with people who speak up, even the ones in yellow gloves." For the first time, Declan smiled, a real smile, sad and genuine. "How much do we pay you? $16 an hour?" He winced. "That's obscene. I'm tripling it, and I'm covering your tuition." "No," Meredith stepped back, shaking her head. "I didn't do this for money. I don't want charity." "It's not charity. It's investment." Declan stood, his business mind clearly turning. "But more than that, I want to offer you something else. Come work for me. Not cleaning. Really work for me. Junior analyst position, day shift. You'll finish your degree, and you'll learn this business from the inside." Tears blurred Meredith's vision. "I'm nobody. I don't have credentials, connections. You have something better. You have integrity, and you see things everyone else misses." He extended his hand. "My father used to say the best decisions come from the ground up, not the top down. Help me remember that." She stared at his hand, the hand that signed million-dollar deals, that commanded boardrooms, that almost signed away his company's future. Slowly, she removed her yellow glove and shook it. His grip was firm, grateful, human. The following weeks revealed deeper truths. As Meredith transitioned into her new role, she discovered that the failed acquisition wasn't Declan's only crisis. His board was divided, several members pushing aggressive expansions that would enrich them but endanger the company's foundation. His late father's old business partner, Clayton, had been slowly positioning allies to force Declan out, planning a hostile takeover that would dismantle everything. Meredith noticed because she noticed everything. The quiet meetings, the shifted loyalties, the way that Clayton's assistant made copies of confidential documents after hours. She had spent 2 years invisible in these halls, watching, learning. Now she used that knowledge differently. "Clayton's planning a vote of no confidence," she told Declan one evening, spreading documents across his desk. "He's been buying up shares through shell companies. He has enough votes to remove you as CEO." Declan's face went pale. "How did you—" She showed him the paper trail, the pattern she had pieced together. "But here's what he doesn't know. Your father wrote a clause into the original corporate charter. Any attempt to remove a Callahan requires unanimous board approval, not just majority. Clayton's been so focused on getting 51%, he missed that." They spent the night preparing, calling allies, shoring up support. When Clayton made his move 3 days later, Declan was ready. The attempted coup failed spectacularly. Clayton resigned in disgrace, and Declan restructured the board, appointing people who shared his father's vision, including, eventually, Meredith herself.
2 years passed. Meredith graduated top of her class, her degree finally complete. She'd become Declan's most trusted advisor, the voice of conscience in a world of calculated ambition. The company thrived under their partnership. Profitable, yes, but also ethical, treating employees with dignity, investing in communities, proving that success and character could coexist. On the anniversary of the night she'd spoken up, Declan found her in the same conference room, now her office. The yellow gloves sat in a frame on her wall, a reminder. "Do you ever regret it?" he asked, speaking up that night. "You could have stayed invisible, safe." Meredith looked out at the city lights, thinking of her father, of all the quiet people who did right things without recognition. My dad used to say that the world changes one brave choice at a time. I think he was right. He'd be proud of you, Mary. I'm proud of you. She turned to him, her eyes bright. You know what the strange thing is? I spent years believing I had to climb to the top to matter. But I mattered most when I was just a cleaning lady, with the courage to say, this is wrong. Status didn't give me value. Character did. Declan nodded slowly. You taught me that. You and those yellow gloves. He paused. The company's worth $2 billion now. Clayton's deal would have bankrupted us. You saved $500 million in liabilities, prevented a hostile takeover, and helped us build something actually worth building. And you did it all by simply caring enough to speak. That's all any of us can do, Meredith said softly. See what's wrong, find the courage to say so. Trust that kindness, real kindness, is never wasted. They stood together in comfortable silence, two people from different worlds who'd found common ground in integrity. Outside, the city pulsed with life, millions of stories, millions of quiet heroisms happening in the shadows. The greatest power we possess isn't wealth or status. It's the courage to speak truth when silence is easier, to choose integrity when compromise is convenient, to remember that every person matters, regardless of the gloves they wear. If this story touched your heart, please like, share, subscribe, and comment. Let's spread more stories of kindness and hope together.